Hello students, Michael Sanchez here. Thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to do a great Irish fiddling class for all you guys out there. This class is probably aimed at students that have been playing at least about 3 years or so. It's going to have some kind of more advanced techniques for some people. But yeah, if you've been playing a little while and you're maybe been playing classical for a while but want to branch off into fiddle, this is a great class for you. The song we're going to be kind of hanging out with is Jackson's Reel. It's going to have a lot of elements of Irish. I'm going to kind of go over each of those elements for you guys. So if you guys want to grab a piece of paper and a pen, we're going to kind of talk about each of the elements today of Irish fiddle. So yeah, I'd like to start first by introducing our teacher here. Joining us today is Evelyn from Newfoundland. Evelyn, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about, outside of violin and fiddle, what's some of your favorite things to do?
Oh, yeah, well, I spend a lot of my time on music, of course, but I also like to hike the beautiful coastline out here, and I keep ducks in my backyard.
Nice, nice. Very cool. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, looking forward to getting some of your input on some of the Irish techniques. So for those of you guys that don't know, Irish fiddle is a very popular style. Its roots are from Ireland, and it's got just a ton of great music. And this particular tune that I picked is a great song. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of play, you know, first little bit of it so you guys can kind of hear. And what's going to include is some Irish turns, as well as some grace notes, and also a little drone at the end. I'm just going to play the first 3 lines or so. Like that. That's kind of the style of Irish, and I did a few little things in there that I want to talk about. So let's first start with slides. We talked about that last time, but if you noticed on the first measure there, I slid into the B. By the way, this music is available right on my website. So if you're interested in the music, please let me know and email me, rivertownviolin@hotmail.com. So that first measure, we have that slide. And the music actually says SL for slide. So we talked about that in the last class, but that's definitely a good element of Irish to slide into notes. And you can actually do it in more places than just that, but that's a good place. So that's one element, if you want to write that down, of Irish fiddle is sliding. And the next one I want to talk about is the Irish turn. So if you see in measure 1, 2, 3, the last note, the F sharp, that little squiggly line above the F sharp, in Spanish would be a Inye mark, I believe. So it's kind of a unique mark for fiddle, and it's an Irish turn. So basically what I did there is I started on the F sharp, I went up to the G, I played the F again, the F sharp, I played E, and I came back to the F sharp. I did it pretty much as quick as I could. That's an Irish turn. So this is kind of slow motion. Like that. And eventually speed it up once you get the hang of the technique. And like we talked about before, it's really important to keep your knuckles up so that you're just using your fingers. If you're any bit kind of not set up properly with your left hand, it's going to be difficult. So everything I've talked about with left hand is really important. So here we go again. That's kind of the idea there. So if I play that measure again. Like that. So I'd love to get Evelyn's take on Irish turns. It's a great addition to Irish music. What's some of your tips on Irish turns, Evelyn?
Well, I thought you did a really nice job with them. I thought that bar in particular was really interesting because you have the 2 Bs and the turn is on the second B. So you're doing the turn after the beginning of the B. The sound makes it sound like it's coming in the middle of the B. But there's a number of ways of doing turns, and it depends on what style of Irish music you're doing, because of course there's more than one style. But generally it can come at the beginning of the beat is a good spot to put it. But if you select a couple of players that you really like and just really listen to them to hear where they place their turns, will give you some idea of how to vary them.
Cool. Thank you so much. So yeah, it's definitely a big element of Irish music, and like Evelyn said, there's a lot of different ways to do turns. That's just one way. There's some simpler ones that kind of, you don't go as far as doing the up, down, up, up technique. So, but yeah, you could do that right there at the end of measure 3. And then also, if you noticed in measure 4, there's a B tied into a B quarter note, which at the very end of the measure of the ending part of the B, you're going to do the turn. So that's the way that I did it. So I didn't start right on it. I kind of did it in the middle of the B. So I didn't go. I went kind of waited on that one. That's kind of what's written in the music there. So maybe try that. That's kind of a unique way to do the turn there. And yeah, really there's different spots you can do it, but that's the 2 spots that I recommend to kind of start off. So yeah, so we got slides, we got turns, and next let's talk about grace notes. So for those of you guys that don't know, grace notes are basically very sudden notes that are played right before the bass note of a song. So if you have a quarter note, right before you play the quarter note, those little notes that you see, those are called grace notes. And you just kind of barely touch it, and then you're right back to what the bass note is. So here are 2 quarter notes. Now here are 2 quarter notes played with grace notes. Or if I did it, 4th finger is kind of tough, but let's do it on 1st finger or 2nd finger. A lot of times you have not just 1 grace note, but 2 grace notes. And the key is just to touch the string and come right back off. So don't hold down too long. Make sure you have good hand technique. Don't go too far off the fingerboard as well. That's a good tip. A lot of students, when they play notes, like they're way up in the air like this playing notes, make sure you're close to the fingerboard. So ba-dum, ba-dum. See how far I'm going from the fingerboard? Not very far. Like that. Ba-dum. Yeah. Evelyn, any tips on kind of hand position regarding grace notes?
Yeah, I think in Irish music in general, you have that just straight down and up, and that's definitely the way that you do it in classical music. The style that I play in Newfoundland, it's a little different. You go down and to the side, but we could cover that in another time. But going down and up is definitely a great place to start. And again, you can experiment with exactly where you place your ornaments, because that'll have a lot to do with how it sounds for the style.
Very good. Yeah, and everything that we're talking about right now, if you guys want to write this down as well, is ornamentation. Evelyn just mentioned that, ornaments. So basically, you know, when you first learn a piece, you can start off with just the notes and just kind of learn, you know, the left hand. But then everything else we're talking about right now is called ornamentation, is what you kind of add into it to make it sound like the style. So far, slides is a form of ornamentation. Turns, like we talked about, grace notes. And there's quite a few in this piece. So if you see those little notes that are much smaller than the regular notes, those are the grace notes. So, for example, one that's like a double grace note, the 3rd line, 3rd measure, and then there's a kind of a Irish bowing there. So those are all little grace notes in there. So yeah, they're fun little techniques to put into Irish pieces, and the more you do it, the better it's going to sound. So very, very good. So that's another Irish element, ornamentation. Let's add in one more. If you want to write this down, drones. So drones are actually going to be talking about in more detail coming into the next video, but I want to just kind of touch on it. Drone is basically where you play one note combined with an open string. So a drone could be a 1st finger on the A string combined with an open D. Could be a 4th finger on the A string with an open D. Open E would be more common. So yeah, basically what you do is you slide into, say, a note, and it's also combined with an open string. So the last measure I did, which is line 3, measure 1. So I just played a 4th finger, but I'm going to kind of just slide and also play an open E. That's considered a drone. So that's kind of another element that I added in. But we're going to talk about that more in the next class. But yeah, let's talk to Evelyn. Any other tips on just overall ornamentation in Irish tunes? Evelyn?
Well, like I said, the style really changes from north to south in Ireland. So I really recommend people try and listen to some different players. The really famous player for Sligo, Northern Ireland, well, not Northern Ireland as in the UK, but up near there is Michael Coleman from the 1920s. He actually came to the States and did recordings. And he's got all kinds of variations and ornaments that are really interesting. You'll be able to find him on YouTube, not him personally, but people will play his music onto YouTube. And that's basically, when you're listening to Irish music, it sort of became the national style. So that's what you're often thinking of when you hear Irish music. As you go south, it becomes a little less ornamented in different spots. So I think it's important to realize that Irish music is not just one thing; it's many different things. But there's all kinds of different ornaments, and what Michael just covered is a great place to start. So and there's other ornaments in different styles. So there's ornaments that go below the note, others that go above the note. Ornamentation is really interesting, and it's a great way to vary your performance so that you don't sound like you're playing the same thing the same way every time.
Thank you, Evelyn. Great. Stephen, do you have anything to add to the discussion? Feel free to. Oh, I got to unmute you. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Michael. One little detail which is useful. This is a technical detail which helps us regardless of what style we're playing in, classical or folk style. But sometimes it pays off when we execute a grace note that we give a little extra pinch with the bow into the string so that the ornament has a little bit of a pop to it. And it also facilitates a little bit of the coordination between the hands. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks, Stephen. Great. Well, great discussion, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, Evelyn and Stephen. Appreciate that. We're going to basically open up the to any students that are interested in asking questions of the teachers. So I highly encourage you guys to come in and get involved with the classes, get to meet other students, and ask questions of the teachers. So thanks so much for watching. And this video, yeah, should be posted on YouTube sometime soon. Thanks so much.